Hey horror fans, thanks for joining me for this review of The Tomorrow War, the War of the Future. Alright, cast and crew information down below, and let's start off with the Imdb plot as usual. A family man is drafted to fight in a future war where the fate of humanity relies on his ability to confront the past. Alright, we got past, we got future, tomorrow, today, and all over. Alright, so obviously this is the new big blockbuster Hollywood type movie from Amazon. We had Netflix, I would say, a month ago or so, present their big Hollywood blockbuster type movie in Army of the Dead, and lots of talk and marketing and leading up to that, and participating in a little bit of that. And this one almost the same. Lots of marketing, lots of talk about this one leading up to this. Didn't really participate as much in this one. But either way, we have, the two big streaming services here going at it here. And, say what you say, and I'll get on talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. But at least, like it or not, they're kind of tackling horror / sci-fi. I mean, at least giving us something. Whether you like the movies or you didn't like the movies or whatever, I can at least appreciate them being in the ballpark and giving us something to watch, something to look forward to. Again, I guess if you really hated it, really disliked it, it pisses you off, maybe you don't feel the same way, but I'm at least appreciative that they're doing this as opposed to, a comedy or drama or whatever, something that maybe I don't want to watch, or I have no interest in. Again, we'll see what my thoughts are, or my final thought, or my final review score on this one is. Pools of blood, but anyway, The Tomorrow World. So we have here, obviously, Chris Pratt is starring on this. A couple other familiar faces you'll see along the way. I'm going to talk about one of them soon, specifically, but you'll see some other familiar faces that are also starring in this. But this is Chris Pratt's show, just like Army of the Dead was Batista's show. This is Chris Pratt's show. So again, maybe you like him, maybe you don't. If you don't, then it might be a bad starting place for you. So obviously, surrounds him. He's a teacher. His name is Dan Foster. He's got a wife and a young kid, and living the regular life there, just like everybody else. And all of a sudden, during a soccer game, some weird thing happens where a portal opens up and some soldiers come through. And they are from, you guessed it, the future. And they are here to tell everybody, hey, guess what? The future sucks. The future's not bright. So if you're already one thinking the future wasn't going to be bright, hey, you're on schedule there. They basically tell the world that there's a war going on and they are getting their ass kicked. By aliens, of course. Aliens are winning, as expected. We have a lot of talk recently about UFOs and so forth. Everybody's all anxious and wants to know more, but as expected, aliens will come, and we want no part of that. It's fun to believe, but if they attack us, we have no faith here. Anyway, aliens are kicking our ass in the future, and these soldiers have come to basically say, hey, come back with us to the future and help us defeat these aliens. good idea, bad idea, interesting idea, I guess. Apparently, they need bodies, they need manpower. Um, kind of interesting idea. Where else are you going to get people? Go back to the past and grab some people and pull them into the future. Um, I guess those people there in the future couldn't go to the future if there wasn't going to be a future. So, yeah, it's all kind of confusing. But anyway, so apparently they start picking people and going, and the war is still not going well, and it's still not helping. So then they have to get more and more people. So, of course, that means drafting, and this is not just the United States. This is all around the world. So they're picking people, drafting people, on and on and on. Still getting their ass whooped. And, of course, this, like I said, is Chris Pratt's movie, so, of course, he's eventually going to get drafted. And off to training he goes, and off to war he goes. He does have military experience in the past, so, this is not a whole totally new thing for him. Obviously, going to the future is, but being in command and being in that kind of situation is not. So that's kind of where this story is going. Obviously, he's going to go to the future and fight some aliens, obviously. And trying to be as spoiler-free as possible. I don't think that really spoiled anything. I'll kind of leave it at that as far as plot and where this goes. Obviously we know whenever there's time travel presented in, most of the sci-fi that we watch, there's, generally consequences here and there. It's not stressed so much in this one. It does come about in a couple of things, but obviously something like Back to the Future was like a constant stress on what is going to happen. If X, Y, and Z happens now, it can have an effect on past events and so forth. So there's not a stress there on it. It's not a whole kinds of craziness. There's a few things you're going to discover along the way, and as far as the people getting picked and the soldiers in the future and blah blah blah. Again, being spoiler free, I'm not going to get into it. Plus, it's a little crazy and confusing as it is, jumping back and forth and having people die here and there and whatever. So yeah, there's a little bit of that. Obviously, it's a part action movie here. It is listed as action adventure before sci-fi, so you're obviously going to get some good battles with the aliens, and I guess that now's a good time to talk about the aliens. From what I understand is they tried to do a decent job of hiding these aliens until the movie was released, to get a good look at them. And even in the movie, they kind of don't tell the people that are time traveling, what these aliens really look like or are really capable of, except for knowing that they're kicking everybody's ass. But yeah, I would say, regardless of what there is to say about the overall movie, whether you liked it or not, I liked the aliens for sure. I thought they were pretty badass. I even tweeted that as I was watching it. I think they start off kind of standard. With the arms and the legs and so forth. Kind of scary looking face, but I think what kind of made them kind of interesting and kind of extra intimidating was that they had these and I think they had one on each side, coming around them, kind of almost like a scorpion, but kind of like a scorpion or kind of like tentacle kind of things that kind of came over the top of them, and they kind of look like a claw, but they could also shoot. Shoot what exactly they were shooting, I'm not sure. I don't remember them ever really explaining what it was, and they might have, and I missed it. But what it is that they were shooting, but they were shooting something out, and obviously you don't want to get hit by that. But I thought that was just like a little, extra bonus there. Obviously these weren't talking aliens. They weren't, going to communicate with the humans and so forth. But, they were just out to eat and kill people. And that was their mission. They were out to just wipe everybody off. So, I think at some points in the movie, you had a limited amount, especially in maybe the first encounter or so, and then you had larger amounts of them, which obviously was harder to deal with. And I guess they had only certain spots on them that you could shoot. Kind of think of it as a video game, where the enemy has, a point where you have to shoot to kill them, basically. And if you shoot them anywhere else, you're basically wasting your ammo. And that was kind of the case here. You obviously want to shoot them as much as possible, but they only really had, one or two really weak spots there. And, they were pretty fast moving, and again, the more of them there were, the harder it was definitely to deal with. As you see, I guess, minor complaint here is you see them using guns in the future, and but you would have thought, I think it was 30 years in the future or so, you would have thought maybe they had better technology to shoot at these aliens, but apparently they did not. Apparently weaponry or technology didn't advance that much, so they're not shooting any spectacular new weaponry at them, and I guess that is one fault there. It seemed pretty standard kind of gun kind of things, and that's it. I guess they had one or two tricks later on that you kind of see, that I guess kind of make up for that, but you thought maybe we had laser guns or something like that. I don't know. So yeah, I guess that's one minor thing now that I think about it. That would have been nice to see, but they didn't really do. Anyway, I like the aliens, and they have one interesting shot there where, I don't know if you've ever watched like a nature show or National Geographic or something like that, and they fly over the desert or whatever, and they show like a herd of animals, just kind of running around, kind of either a drone shot or a helicopter shot, and you kind of just see the animals kind of running through their environment there. They do have a scene there where they're on the helicopter and they're kind of going over, and you're seeing these aliens just kind of run through the landscape there, and if they run into anything, it's basically gets devoured, and they move on. So I thought that was kind of a interesting shot, an interesting look at the aliens and their behavior, and just we're used to seeing nature, and instead you're seeing these aliens just running through the land and tearing through everything that comes in their path. So I thought that was a little interesting there, as far as shots. Again, kind of going back to the cast, I do want to mention somebody in here. So, Chris Pratt, I think it's Chris Pratt. You're going to get what you want from him. Like I said, you may like him, you may not. But you're going to get another, typical performance by him. He handles the action stuff pretty well. He's got some comedy lines here or there. And that's about it. Doesn't get too much into the romantic stuff this time. It's more about other stuff, and I'm not going to kind of get into that because that would be spoiler territory. But you don't really have to worry about like a love interest and stuff like that. Doesn't really get into that direction this time around. but someone else who I really enjoyed in this movie. And like I said, the acting is good because, like I said, you're going to see some familiar faces, and I think you're going to get what you expect from them. But someone I want to point out is Sam Richardson, and I don't know if some of you have seen it yet or not, or know the movie, but and he's done apparently some other things that I've not seen him do. But I saw Werewolves Within as another new movie that just came out, and I recently reviewed it. It's on the blog, written review. And he's the lead in that movie. And that's kind of my first experience really with him in a movie. And he was terrific in that movie. Like I said, he's the lead, and he's got a co-star in that. But he was hilarious in that movie, just absolutely hilarious in that movie. It is a horror movie, a horror comedy. But he's absolutely hilarious in that movie, and I loved his performance. So when I saw him in this movie, I was pleasant surprised, and he gives kind of similar kind of performance. I don't want to typecast him as that's what he does. Like I said, I know he's done some other stuff that I haven't seen, so I don't know if that's just the way he is. But I guess he is the kind of comic relief here. Like I said, Chris Pratt has a little bit here and there, but obviously he has a different mission in this movie to be a little bit more serious with the aliens and so forth. But Sam Richardson's character is hilarious, and he is the comic relief, and he's obviously not trained and not ready to go to war. He's basically convinced that he's going to die, but because he's comic relief, he probably stays there a little bit longer than he probably should have. He obviously has a little help along the way. I'm not going to spoil the scene, but I will kind of set it up, so if you've seen it, you'll know what I'm talking about, or if you're going to see it and you're watching this, you'll kind of know what to expect. But basically, there's a scene in a stairwell, and it's one of their first kind of experiences with the aliens, or trying to escape the aliens, and he's basically shooting at this alien, shooting and running at this alien, and just what he's saying and the way he's expressing it, and his reaction to the alien is really funny, but also very true, and you'd almost want to see it in more movies where maybe something like this is happening, because it's, as funny as it is kind of a natural reaction. Like I would see plenty of people having that kind of reaction, and maybe they're saying it in their head, but he of course is saying it out loud, and it's a really funny moment in a kind of action kind of scene. So and he has some other moments along the way that are fun as well, but that one in particular was really great. So yeah, I'm definitely becoming a fan of his real quickly. But I guess leading into, before I give the final verdict here, I know, I didn't read specifically in reviews, but I saw, a couple of things on Twitter where people didn't like it. A friend of mine said he heard a lot of bad things about it, so they weren't sure whether they were going to watch this or not. And I think I kind of said this with Army of the Dead, and I think why some people didn't like it, and maybe some people won't even give it a chance, or maybe watch it with a grain of salt, and then it's already coming from, I'm not going to have big expectations for it. I'm already going to hate it. And then you watch it and you hate it anyway. And that's because it's it's a Hollywood type movie. Yeah, they're on Netflix. Yeah, it's on Amazon. But it's a Hollywood type movie. So it's not our indie horror. It's not, maybe what, especially now where you've probably been subjected a lot to over the last year because of COVID. You've probably been subjected to, if you're going the horror direction, a lot of indie horror, which might be a little bit more true to horror, and obviously on lesser budgets and done in different ways. Maybe you're just not ready for the big budget. Maybe some people just don't like that overall. Some people don't like the big Hollywood movies, or, and I think it's the way I review or the way I think about it. I think, I don't like to trash movies. It's not fun. I like to point out the better things as opposed to bad things. I have trashed movies before. That there are movies that piss me off for A, B, or C reason. I'm not above anything else, above anybody else. I've done it. I try to do less of it. I've done that back in the day. I try to do less of it now. If I just don't like a movie or don't have a lot good to say about it, I just prefer not to review it. But I think with bigger budgets, it's a little bit more freedom to do so if you want, because people think of, hey, it's big, and they put a lot of money into it, and it's marketed, and people get mad because then they're like, well, they wasted all that money and so forth. Or I think it's okay to be a little bit more harsh on these bigger budget movies, but still, I think just to trash it, I don't really understand that, but whatever. I mean, and again, if you're just not into the big Hollywood thing, then just don't watch the movie. But I think again, what I was going to say a minute ago, what's important with these two movies is that I think they're action and they're adventure movies first and foremost, and then like in the case of Army of the Dead, and then a horror movie, and in this case, and then a sci-fi movie. And I think one of the reasons why I watch both these movies, or several reasons, it's because I don't really watch. I watched so much horror, recently over the last couple of years. I don't watch too much action. I don't watch much of other type of movies. So getting to see a little bit of action in these movies, and that again is big blockbuster type action. Other horror movies obviously have action, but they're not as big budget as this, and they can't do things that these kind of movies can because they have the bigger budget. It is a little bit refreshing to see. Again, coming from a time of watching Arnold and Bruce and do all these kind of, and other names do, all these other action movies and so forth. I do like action movies, and they're another one of my favorites down the line. It's fun to kind of see this action. So I think again, I think if you take it from that standpoint, where they don't have to be as true to the horror or sci-fi first and foremost. They're going to be true to a big blockbuster, presenting you with a strong lead and a cast around them first and foremost, and then be about the action and then the marketing, and then kind of wrap in the horror, in this case the sci-fi. Whereas other movies that we may more typically watch are horror first. They want to be fair and right to the horror and bring the horror. They know it's specifically for horror fans, and do that right first and foremost, and then everything else come together there. So I think it's a little bit of a different approach, different thought. So I'm not gonna hold their feet to the fire here and say well, they did everything wrong from a horror standpoint here for Army of the Dead, and over here everything sci-fi wrong over here. Like I said, they could have checked up the future a little bit more, and this one, but they didn't. They did in in a case here or there, like, again, I don't want to get into specifics because that would spoil a few things, but maybe not as much as I would expect at least in defense against the aliens. But, it is what it is. So, I'm, going to enjoy it for what it is and not try to put it up against, some of the other horror, other sci-fi I've seen, over the course. And then sci-fi is just not, huge in my ballpark. I obviously watch it because it, has a close connection to horror. But I'm no foremost expert here on sci-fi. Especially, this time travel thing. It's confusing anyway. So with that, all that said, I wish I remember what I gave Army of the Dead. I'm guessing I gave it 3 pools of blood, and I think I'm gonna give this one 3 pools of blood as well. Again, because I thought the action, it is, like I said, I just said, it is an action movie, and that score might not be reflective on the sci-fi angle of this, but it is an action movie. I thought it had some good action. Like I said, I liked Sam Richardson. I liked the comedy added to it. I liked, the sort of dramatic ending. I liked kind of the way things unfolded as far as the aliens and what happened there. Did it kind of leave off where there could have been a part 2? I guess there maybe. I guess they could find the way if they wanted to. But I liked the direction they went with that. Not everything obviously was perfect. I liked that it didn't have that romantic angle. Didn't need any of that. But I think I give it 3 pools of blood largely because I liked the aliens, and again, they might not impress you, and that's fine. I enjoyed them. I enjoyed what they brought to the table, and the CGI or whatever you want to call it, or the effects, CGI or not. Again, I'm really an expert. Sometimes I can't tell as well, but whatever. But that really didn't bother me. I'm kind of over the CGI thing at this point. If it's really, I think it's at least improved. If it's really, really bad, then, it's a problem. But, I thought it was okay for the circumstance here. But, anyway, I'm going to give it 3 pools of blood. If, again, we can, and that is out of 5, of course. We can agree to disagree if you wanted to trash the movie or you just didn't like it. You don't like Hollywood blockbuster type movies or whatever. But, always remember, we get big Hollywood horror movies as well. I mean, Conjuring's pretty big now. Maybe not when it first came out, but now it's pretty big. And we just had Saw return, and I mean, there's going to be some other ones coming down the way. As far as horror fans, and right now you don't get much bigger than Michael Myers, and Blumhouse has that now, and you don't get much bigger than that. So that really screams Hollywood there. So Michael Myers is in Hollywood's hands to say. So say what you want to say. We can argue about those points another time, I guess. Anyway, let's end this before the Tomorrow War is actually over. And it is a long movie, by the way. It's almost 2.5 hours. So if you want to watch it straight, get prepared. Anyway, horrorscorereviews.blogspot.com is where you can find more reviews. The video reviews are there, but also plenty of written ones as well. Twitter, Facebook information down below as well. Feel free to reach out to me. We can talk horror, talk about this movie, talk about other movies, talk about Hollywood blockbusters versus indie horror, whatever you want. If you have something you want me to review, you can reach out to me there as well. See if we can make that happen. I try my best. That's about it. And like I said, hopefully I'm not drafted to this future war or this tomorrow war or even the war today or whatever war. I'll hopefully never get drafted. And that is it. And I will catch you on the next review, horror fans.